Well, hello. Good afternoon. Good morning, depending on where you're coming in from. Um, I know that I have friends all over the world, and I'm grateful today to be able to celebrate that fact. Let's see. Online. Yep. Online on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Looks like we're all connected. So, hello and happy Friday. Good to see you. Good to be here. Today, I enjoy saying happy Friday, but you may have heard me say it before. I try to live as if each day is Friday, and there's no better way to do it, in my opinion. Even if you are looking forward to the weekends for whatever your reason is, I would encourage you to try and just make the most of each and every day and live as if it were already Friday and you were going to get up and do whatever the weekend held for you tomorrow and the next day. This hat, the Wounded Warrior Project, is representative of my retirement from the military. Some of you already know, many of you may not, but I retired medically at about 16 and a half years. So didn't quite finish my 20 plus years, but I'm grateful for the opportunities, the lessons, and the experiences that it brought me. So that's where this one is. I'm also grateful. There may be some controversy around the Wounded Warrior Project, but I have participated in several of their events, and I'm grateful for the things that they are doing, the way that they're helping warriors engage with others, and I've had a great experience with them. This particular hat came from surfing lessons in Virginia Beach a few years ago, and man, what a great time. So I continue my quest to understand how to surf. I still try, and I enjoy the effort. So that's where this hat came from today. I'm still fighting a little bit of sinus congestion, so bear with me. But today I wanted to talk about goals because I feel like you know what? I need to open my chat. I forgot to open my chat. So if you're here, say hello. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Love to hear from you. And tell me what you think about when it comes to goal setting. I hear from a lot of people that they still don't fully comprehend how to structure clear goals. And so I'm not going up. Can't talk today, so slow down, Dan. Slow down to speed up. That's a lesson that I've had to practice more and more recently, refocusing my time and attention, slowing down. I spent a lot of years in a work ethic that kept me, as an entrepreneur, kept me focused on being busy because I felt like if I wasn't busy, I wasn't being productive. And the truth is I was just busy. So I've been working really intentionally on slowing down so that I can speed up. But I found that a lot of people still don't fully understand goal setting. And I'm not going to get into a bunch of detail on how to fully structure goals. I'm just going to go through a quick 7-step process that I have found to be beneficial when it comes to setting goals. A lot of people are familiar with SMART goals or even smarter goals. That's specific, measurable, actionable, or action-oriented. There's a couple different definitions for the acronyms. And I lost my train of thought. So specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, I think, is where a lot of people go with the SMART acronyms, and time-bound or set in a time frame, having a clear definition of when you would like to achieve that outcome. And then for smarter goals, I've seen that a couple ways as well, but it comes down to evaluation, right? The check-in points, reevaluation or reassessing where you're at, I think is where the R comes from. I'm not as familiar with the SMART-er acronym, but if you are not familiar with goals, I would say that that's a great place to start, just thinking about structuring SMART goals. But I would challenge you that that's only one step of a productive goal setting process that I learned and taught while I was in the military as a master resiliency trainer. If you're just checking in, love to hear when it comes to goal setting, what do you feel? What do you think about? Is that a challenge for you? Is it something you still haven't quite developed the way you'd like to. I'm just curious. I'm not going to, unless you would like me to offer any additional insights or advice, then I'm not going to really jump into that. But I'd just love to hear your thoughts on it. In the meantime, so here's the 7-step process. And before I get to that, let me just share. I found this on Tony Robbins' website. I love reading some of his stuff, and I certainly enjoy listening to some of his stuff. Sometimes he can be a bit abrasive, for lack of better words. He can be a bit abrasive, or sometimes a little over the top feeling. But I need that sometimes, and so I challenge myself in that perspective. But here's common goal mistakes that people make is whether you're using the SMART or smarter steps, or you're following a different process that's a bit more in depth, which I'm going to cover 7 simple steps that include SMART goals as part of one of the steps. I'll cover that in a minute. But common mistakes are that we're often too vague when we're setting our goals. We're not specific enough. And so that makes it really hard to identify clear action steps in order to achieve that outcome. We set irrelevant goals, things that aren't necessarily meaningful or important to us or our business. And then setting unattainable goals, setting unrealistic goals. Now, there is something to be said. My friend and mentor, coach Ray Edwards, has shared his idea, which I believe he's adopted from someone else even, but of setting impossible goals. And I think there's tremendous merit in that. But if you're not setting goals that you're actually achieving first, I would set that one to the side. The impossible goal concept is certainly a productive concept for someone who's already achieving the things that they would like or have set out to achieve from a regular goal setting process. And then you can adopt the impossible goal to challenge yourself even further. And I've talked about that before. I'm happy to talk about it again, just not in the context of structuring clear goals, which is why I showed up today. So the 7 steps really quickly, and I'm looking at my notes if you're wondering, but define your goal. You got to define with what is the end state you'd like to achieve. So start there. And again, that goes back to being very specific on what is it, right? Businesses often say that they want to grow revenues or profits, but one of the challenges with that is often it's not really what they want. What they might want instead. And this is where, coaching helps to uncover some of these things, or even consulting. But they often will start with the goal of wanting to achieve more profits. And maybe they put a number on it because they know they're supposed to be specific, and that's great. But what they end up doing is spending a lot of time in the strategy and the tactics involved in the business. And so they end up working in the business, which of course leads to working inside of the company. They lose sight of the things that were most important. That then leads to the people who support them losing sight of the vision, the same way as the leader may have lost sight of the vision. And I'm not saying your business is not productive as a result, but when we lose sight of the vision, it leads to things like other people losing sight of the vision. It leads to lower motivation overall, whether it's you or whether it's for the people serving in your business. It leads to burnout. And a feeling like they're lacking in control of their ability to influence the outcomes. And so it's important to define what the real goal is. Maybe that goal is, it is the purpose or vision that you had when you started your business, or the purpose that the vision of the leader who started that organization or business had. And getting back in touch with that is super important. It allows you to step out beyond working in your business and instead working on the things that are most important. And for me, most important is not just creating more income. And by the way, my idea of prosperity and creating more income is allowing me to then be able to serve others more powerfully. The more I can make, the more I can serve others, and the more I can help other people. So for me, that's part of the vision of my business and why I do what I do, being able to serve people powerfully. And so what was the vision? Get back in touch with that, and then look at redefining your goals. So start with defining your goal. That's step one. And in order to work on moving towards achievement, you also need to know where you're at right now. Identify clearly where you are, and decide then the next step, what you need to do to develop in different areas. We offer, if you sit down with me and I walk you through this process, there's several categories that we'll look at. We'll walk through defining what those categories look like for you, but we'll look at each of those categories and deciding what needs to be developed in order to help me on my path towards achieving this goal. So then from that is where step 4 comes in. Step 4 is where the SMART goal setting steps come in. This is where you start actually making a plan for steady achievement. And in that plan, your plan should be specific. Your plan should be measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. Then start pursuing regular action. You create, you create some simple statements that help remind you of the goal and tie it back to your personal values that you're carrying with you as the reason that you wanted to achieve this. I started first by saying what Tony Robbins here includes is, setting irrelevant goals. What I find when people make New Year's resolutions, the reason they never come to fruition, for many people, I forget the statistics, but for many people, the New Year's resolutions just don't work. And part of it's because they don't make a plan. They don't follow any sort of goal-setting process. They just say, this is what I'm going to do for the New Year's resolution. And that's wonderful, but it doesn't work. And part of the reason it doesn't work is often they're not tied to your core values, those personal values that intrinsically motivates you towards achieving those things. And so when we walk through goal setting, we talk about aligning those values with the outcomes that you're looking to achieve. And that works towards intrinsic motivation to keep you on the path, even in the face of obstacles. And part of the process is identifying those obstacles. In this pursue regular action step 5, we're talking about creating statements that are going to help you address obstacles. These are, winning statements that you can remind yourself of using those core values so that you can continue to navigate in the face of those obstacles. And then commit yourself completely. And this is where we talk about motivation. I sort of alluded to that a minute ago, but we talk about the intrinsic versus extrinsic value of that goal. And we define clear ways to stay focused on motivation towards achieving that desired outcome. And then finally, step 7 is to continually monitor your progress. It's check-in. And it's as simple as creating check-in points. If you want to lose X number of pounds over the next year or the next 6 months, you set in a check-in time, intervals. Once a week, I'm going to step on the scale, or once a month, I'm going to step on the scale. And maybe part of that goal you're going to commit to, in implementing new habits like running, walking, or jogging 2 to 3 times a week to help towards improving that weight loss progress. And so then even that would be something you would want to create as a goal, and setting a check-in point, right? At the end of the week, did I complete 3 times a week of running, walking, or jogging activities? And if not, what do I need to do to adjust? So that's a simple 7-step goal-setting process. It certainly expands on what most people know as SMART or smarter goals. And as I've laid out here in these 7 steps, SMART goals are a part of the process, but not a complete process that addresses the motivators, the challenges that we know are going to come up. What do you do in that case? And so making a plan to address those things, I think, is also important. Hey, Laura, thank you for joining me. I asked a question earlier. I'm not sure when you jumped in, but I asked a question when I started. What is it you think of when it comes to setting goals? Does it present a challenge for you? Are you clear in the process? Or is there something else that you think or feel when you hear about goal setting? I don't know if you caught all of the 7 steps I just reviewed in brief, but for you and anyone else here, if you'd like to jump on a call to talk through setting specific goals using the steps I've outlined, I'm happy to walk people through it. If there's enough interest, of course, people can message me, and maybe we create a clubhouse room where we focus on goal setting and we walk through with a group of setting realistic goals for the new year. I'd love to help with that. Laura says it's definitely a challenge for me, something she would like to improve on. Thank you for sharing that honestly and being vulnerable about that. It's something that I continue to work on improving as well. I just happen to have been taught and have taught a process that I find really works when it comes to goal setting, because it does align with our values and helps us to see what those outcomes can really do for us. One of the things Rich Litvin said in the program I'm participating in right now is that sometimes, well, let me back up. Often, goals are something we see as a place we need to go or a place we're trying to go. But sometimes we need to think backwards for a minute and look at the goal maybe as something we need to come from. And I found, especially when talking with people about weight loss or other personal challenges, that thinking about a place to come from is a way to reframe goal setting that helps us really consider the value of what it is we're trying to achieve. So it's not always an outcome that we have to go to. Sometimes it's a place we need to come from. I can certainly put together something. I am in the process of reaching out to UPenn, who actually created the materials that we used in the Master Resiliency program, for permission to share, in part, not in full, some of the lessons that I'm sharing here, because they are extremely valuable. They're valuable beyond serving in the military for sure. And so I just want to seek permission to be able to share that and find out what those limitations are on the materials that they've provided us. And so let me check on that, Laura. And if I can get approval, I'll share with you we can have a conversation, and I'm happy to walk you through them. In the meantime, you can take notes however you'd like. I'll cover them really quickly if you'd like to take notes on it now, or come back to this video later. Step 1 is to define your goal, knowing what your end state is and being specific about it. Also in step 1 is where you want to create a list of your personal values and choosing 4 or 5 of those values that align with the outcome you're looking to achieve. Identifying step 2, know where you are right now. Identify where you are right now so that in step 3, you can look at priority areas, things that you need to develop that are going to contribute to your ability to actually achieve that goal in the end. Maybe you need to do some personal development work. Maybe you need to do some professional development classes or courses, or maybe there's a training that would contribute to developing in that area that you could use to support your growth and work towards achieving that goal. Step 3, I just covered, is decide what you need to develop. Those are the priority areas. Step 4 is to make your plan for steady improvement. This is where the SMART steps actually come in. Then step 5, make a plan to pursue regular action, deciding what's important now. This is also where you're going to create action statements that keep you focused on the outcome in the face of challenges or obstacles that you can plan for. When you think about goal setting, if I go back to weight loss as an example, you know that there are going to be some common challenges that appear. Maybe you get invited to a party and they don't have the food that you've decided is going to be good for you right now in this process. And what are you going to do there? What are you going to use to remind yourself of that and stay motivated? That's just one example, but there's plenty more that we could come up with together. Number 6 is to commit yourself completely to the goal. This is all about maintaining motivation. And again, using some charged statements to help further define how you're going to maintain that motivation, reflecting those values that we established in step 1. And then step 7 is to continually monitor your progress. And that's as simple as creating checkpoints, deciding how you're going to measure where you're at on the path to achieving the desired outcome. So I hope that that's helpful. I'd love to hear from anyone. What strategies have worked well for you? Is there a different process that you've used? Was understanding that this 7-step process beneficial as it compares to just following the SMART steps that most people are talking about? You're most welcome, Laura. Thank you for being here, and thank you for, again, being vulnerable about your desire to improve on goal setting and that it is a challenge for you. I appreciate that. So I was saying, if there's enough interest, I'd certainly be happy to put together a Zoom call or a Clubhouse room where we could get a bit more in depth on each of these steps, work together to define goals with a community of people that are working towards defining their goals for the new year. So if that's something you'd be interested in, just shoot me a note, leave me a comment, and I'd be happy to put something together to walk one or two people or more people through this process, and we can work together to set realistic goals. And part of that. Thank you, Laura. Laura says she's in. Count her in. Part of that is something I didn't talk about, but sharing that goal with someone else. And when you have a community of people who are, at least aware of your goals, they're more apt to check in on you and see how things are going, and maybe contribute to your support. Megan, good to see you. Thank you so much, and I'd love to add you to that. She says me too. So thanks, Megan, for showing up, and thanks for chiming in. Three's company, so I'd love to have more, but if I can help one or two other people walk through this process and we can do this together, I'm happy to share that. So I will put something together, and I'll reach out to at least the two of you right now with something hopefully that works for both of you. Maybe next week we'll plan an evening, because I know Laura works during the day, so we can plan an evening event here on the East Coast time. Because Megan, I think you're in Canada. I'm not sure which part of Canada, but hopefully we can work something out for East Coast time that works well for you. I know you've got children and family things to attend to as well. So let me know if you think, just shoot me a message and let me know if you think that'll work for you, Megan, and we'll make it happen. So I appreciate the two of you. West Coast, Mountain Time. All right, West Coast. Let me make a note. West Coast. I'll consider that when making a plan, but I'll reach out to you and check with you on a couple times and make sure it works for all of us. Thanks so much for being here today, and thanks so much for chiming in. I look forward to spending some time with both of you and anyone else who would like to send me a message or leave me a comment about joining us, working through goal setting together so we can get prepared to rock the new year. Yesterday, and this might be controversial for some of you, but yesterday I was in a call with, the Ray Edwards Mastermind. I love my community of people there, and I just decided that in January, I'm going to get out of my way more than I have ever, and I'm just going to start making shit happen. And that's how I feel today, is I just want to make shit happen. And if I can help you do that, then I'm all for it. So, hey, I'm excited. I'm glad you were here, and I look forward to seeing you all again on Monday. Thanks, and have a wonderful Friday.